we helped a business increase their lead conversion rate by 30%. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through all of the issues they were struggling with and exactly what we did to fix them to get the outcome of an increased lead conversion rate of 30%. So this business came to us and they were using pretty much just Excel spreadsheets to manage all of their leads. So someone would go through their funnel, like their application process, they'd submit an application, and then it would automatically, they had set this up, which was a miracle, automatically add their applications to a Google Sheet. At the time, it wasn't an Excel spreadsheet, it was a Google Sheet. And then the sales team would see that a new one has come in, and then they would assign themselves to it by literally writing their name against that particular lead. And then they would be responsible for working that lead. So they had pretty much no system, really. They had an Excel or a Google Sheet, and that was pretty much it. So a huge opportunity to improve the process that they had. And as a consequence, we increased their lead conversion rate by 30%. Now, an important point to note here before I go into like what happened and what we did, they were not using any form of lead scoring. So as far as they were concerned, every single lead came in as equal. So all of the applications and the data, they were all the same. There are no means of delineating between one lead and another. They were just treated all the same. So that was another thing that I saw an opportunity, or we saw an opportunity to improve, because unfortunately not all leads are equal. So we thought, how could we better manage that? So what we did firstly was we introduced them to a CRM system, which was quite important. A system where they could manage their leads in a slightly more efficient and effective place than using a Google Sheet. Lead allocation became automatic, so assigning people to different leads, and all of their leads would flow into one place. So just like it was happening in the Google Sheet, it then just went into the CRM system instead. That means we've got a lot better reporting functionality, or they had better reporting functionality. It was easier to filter and better manage and assign tasks to different leads. And then we haven't at this stage, but we will look at automated follow-up and how that process can begin, stemming from the different status options of the leads within the CRM system. So that's the first thing we did. We introduced them to a CRM system to manage their lead flow, which of course included the different stages of a pipeline until the lead was converted into a deal, and that actually became an opportunity for them to sell that particular business something, and they obviously had qualification criteria around that. So we've consolidated the flow into one place, a more suitable place. Now the next thing that we wanted to do was better allocate the leads, because all leads, like I said, were just being distributed or just being put in one place and then assigned to people based on them claiming the leads. Whereas what we wanted was to assign the leads to different people dependent on different factors, and the factors being the lead scoring. So what we did is we set up a system where we would score the leads between 1 and 10 dependent on the answers that they gave in the application when they were submitting themselves to work with this particular business. Now they had a series of questions, and one nuance point to note here is that within their application, I think maybe like 50-60% of the questions were drop down or different A, B, C, D, E options, or just single select or multi-select options. But I think like 40% of the options were also just short text and long text. So they were expecting the company to enter in information or explain the issue that they're dealing with or the pain point that they're dealing with. And that meant that scoring the leads became a little bit more difficult, because how do we evaluate using standard systems like a CRM system or just like a compute of some description? How can we assign values to that has a million one variations? The way they write a sentence might be slightly different in one from one application to the other. So if it was all just single choice and multi-choice, it's very easy to assign values, like one option being a value of 2 and the other being a value of -3, depending on the answers and what they would be suggesting or saying. But unfortunately, we didn't have that luxury. We did suggest, would it be possible to change this? But they were very, very hesitant. So that's not a problem at all. We just had to think outside the box. So what we did instead is we scored the leads using AI. Cool, exciting, right? So what we would do is every time a new submission would come into their application process, that would trigger a zap. So a zap would fire when a new submission is created, and then we would put all of the answers from the application as the first step into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT, based on a pretty well-defined prompt, would then analyze all of the answers that they'd given to all of the different questions, including the long text and short text questions that were asked in the application. And based on the information that they provide, then give an assessment of the score of that lead based on the criteria that we'd provided within the prompt. So it analyzed all of the answers, and because obviously AI can read long text and short text, it can, as a consequence, score that information accordingly. So what we did was we got ChatGPT to assign a value to that particular application, and all we wanted from the output was a value between 1 and 10. And then what we would do is the next step in the Zap would be to automatically create that new record, the lead record, inside the CRM system. And then within the CRM system, we created a custom field which was for lead scoring, and obviously the data output from ChatGPT would then be entered into that particular lead scoring custom value. This, as a consequence, then created a new lead inside of their CRM system, not their Google Sheet, with all of the information from the application and also the score that was provided from ChatGPT. So that's an improvement, right? We now know the value of leads. So if we were to work in the old way and anyone could grab different leads, they would at least be able to look at a lead and go, oh, that's an 8, or that's a 2, or that's a 4. I'm not going to touch that 2. I'm going to take the 8 instead. But we didn't want to stop there. The next thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to assign the best leads to the best closers, or the best appointment setters, or just the salespeople in this particular instance. The salespeople were responsible for the entire process. So the lead would come in, scored. Based on the score that was provided, we had assignment rules within the CRM system. And if the score was X, Y, between 7 and 10, for example, it would go to the person A as opposed to person B. And that was the way we set it up. So the higher the score, it depends who it's assigned to. But as a result, when we were assigning the best leads, which we didn't know were the best leads until we had the score available, to the best closers, to the people that are most likely to convert them, then as a consequence, and we had tracked this, and I can't remember the specific number, but the lead conversion rate had increased above 30%. So going from a lead to an actual deal, an actual opportunity, had increased by over 30%, because we were scoring the data that was provided to us and then assigning the leads based on the score to the best people. So the best leads to the best closers, and then the worst leads, or the not so good leads, shall we say, being assigned to the people that were not as good, just gave them more of an opportunity to improve. That was this business's decision, not our decision, but I think it made a lot of sense. But we couldn't have achieved any of this without the implementation of AI as a step in the lead collection process, because then we would have been able to score the information because of the long text, short text answers. And then as a result, we probably wouldn't have been able to achieve the 30% uplift in lead conversion, which as a result has had a significantly positive impact on their revenue. More leads that convert into deals, the more deals that get closed, the more money in the bank. So a 30% uplift is pretty impressive. So hopefully this gives you an idea of something you could potentially do with your lead scoring or your lead process. Obviously, they had a dramatic change from Google Sheets or Excel spreadsheets over to a CRM system. Then we're scoring the leads, and then we're using allocation based on lead scoring or assignment rules within the CRM system. If you do like the sound of this and have issues that you would like us to help you fix with systems, then I suggest checking out the link in the description below. We focus primarily on return on investment. You give us $1, we give you X number of dollars back with systems, with processes. We're really keen on that. So if you're interested, check out the link below. There's a video explaining how we could potentially help. You can apply to work with us, not really apply. We just need to know more information about the issues that you're dealing with to make an assessment on whether we'd be able to provide a positive return on investment. Anyway, check out the link below. Hopefully this video has been helpful, provided some insight or information as to what is possible. This is kind of just one tiny thing and an ocean of opportunity with systems. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.